All right. Hello and welcome everyone to the second day plenary of our Esri Canada 2025 UC. Isn't that video just the best? Every time I watch that video, I feel inspired to come and contribute and do whatever I can to help make the world a better place. And, this event, isn't this event just fantastic? It is so great to have all of us from across the country back together in person. Doesn't everyone appreciate that? Yeah. Personally, I think it's overdue. I wish we could have done it last year, but we weren't able to for a variety of reasons. But listen, I finished yesterday and started this morning feeling absolutely energized, getting to share a common space with such incredibly insightful GIS professionals and thought leaders. For those that I haven't had the pleasure to meet yet, my name's Brian Bell. I'm a part of the leadership team here at Esri Canada. My teams help ensure you have access to the appropriate technical development and training opportunities. We work together alongside your teams to help consult and implement systems and solutions built on ArcGIS. And we deliver a variety of managed services offerings that many of your organizations leverage to help you be successful using our technology. This morning, I've been lucky enough to be assigned an additional task of helping us navigate this morning's content. And I thank all of you for joining us today for day 2 of the National UC. I'd like to start by reflecting for a moment on the incredible day we had yesterday. I heard repeated feedback about how rapidly the AI and geo-AI capabilities in our solutions are evolving, like we saw in the plenary yesterday and heard about in several of the breakout sessions. I personally couldn't agree more. That pace is only going to accelerate, creating more and more opportunities for all of us to contribute in new and interesting ways in the future. Also yesterday, I tried to sneak into several of the special interest group or SIG sessions and was turned away at the door. Not because I wasn't welcome, but because the rooms were so packed, I literally could not enter them. It's great to see such interest for these industry-focused communities, and I will tell you, we have taken note of those challenges with the rooms and the interest in those sessions, and we will be considering that for future planning. The Esri Island and exhibitor areas continue to be extremely popular. I saw many exhibitor booths yesterday where people were milling around, engaging with partners, exhibitors, and each other. Thank you to all of our partners that chose to exhibit and actively participate in our first truly national user conference. Your support for making it successful has definitely been noted. Now, with that rambling to get us started put to the side, it's my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker for this morning. Sean Southey, the CEO of the Canadian Wildlife Federation. Myself and Alec and a couple of others had a pleasure to spend the day with Sean and some of his team earlier this summer, initiating the ideation around this talk, but also exploring how Esri Canada and the Canadian Wildlife Federation could elevate our collaboration to a new level. The scale of Sean's vision and energy around our potential to improve the world is truly infectious. Sean has a history as a local, national, and global change agent for all things related to environmental conservation. Most notably, Sean has served as chair of the Commission on Education and Communication for the IUCN for over a decade, and prior to that served in a similar role focused on conservation for the United Nations. The work that Sean is leading has the potential to be truly transformational in the protection and growth of all of Canada. Welcome, Sean. We are so happy to have you here.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, Esri Canada community. How are you?
I am delighted to join you this morning. I am an incredible fan of this community, of this work that you do. And when I think about the Canadian Wildlife Federation, I think about our work. I like to think of it as we do the science of conservation. You do the science of where. And I believe that if we're smart together, we can bleed even more together, that science of conservation with the science of where, to create the Canada we all want. As Brian graciously introduced me, I just let you know me for a second. I started here in Toronto in the Ministry of Environment and Energy, and I spent 5 years there. Then I joined the United Nations Development Program for over a decade, have worked internationally, and came back to Canada to become the CEO of the Canadian Wildlife Federation. I have seen gazelles birthing on the steppes of Mongolia. I have stood at the bottom of Mount Kilimanjaro and trained people on how to stop the illegal trade in wildlife, in rhinos and elephants, helped fishermen in the coasts of Madagascar live sustainable livelihoods, worked in the Caribbean on fighting climate change, the base of the Andes Mountains and in the Amazon. But when I'm back in Canada, I am always in awe of one special thing. We live in one of the most beautiful places on the planet. We live in a place of wilderness. We live in a place of habitats, mountains to coasts. We live in a place that's unique. And having worked in so many places, I believe that part of the Canadian psyche is profoundly connected to nature. It is part of our culture. And that's why I, as CWF CEO, joined this organization, because I think our strategic plan, is truly innovative. We bring this science of conservation, but not just in a normal way. We look at how do we create a culture of conservation in Canada. Imagine if everyone made decisions based on the simple thought of what does this also do for nature? The way we shop, the way we raise our kids, the jobs we take. All of these can be done in a win-win between nature and economy and Canadian wildlife. Then we need to inspire every Canadian. Ethic is important, but action is what really makes a difference. So we work in CWF, as many of you do, to create opportunities for Canadians to be part of the solution. We, of course, also work on key species we love and the places they live. We are Canada's longest only national NGO working in the wildlife and habitat space. We're over 60 years old. We have 120 staff across this beautiful country. I'm going to tell you today about our newly launched Canadian Centre for Nature-Based Education. And I'm going to tell you 4 stories on our conservation side. The story of the North Atlantic right whale, story of pronghorns, monarchs, and our freshwater species. And you'll see where meeting science. Isn't he cute? Is that why we do this work? Yes, but it's not enough. We do this work because it's what makes a healthy Canada, a greener economy. We can have development with green growth. We can have conservation that's good for families, that's good for communities, that's good for a national economy. We can do this work in a way that protects our life support systems as we deal with the challenges ahead with climate change. It helps us build resilience as an economy, as a community, and helps inspire us and remind us of the responsibilities we all bear. How many of you know about the North Atlantic right whale? Not so many hands. It is a hard and beautiful story. There's only 384 of this species left. That majestic animal you see 384, and only 70 of them are females that can have birth. That's no longer a viable population size. And if you look at this trend analysis, you'll see we were down to 300, we climbed to almost 500, and then we began to go down again. Sadly, it's a deeply Canadian story. 25 of those deaths happened on our shores, 25 in the last decade. That's why we in CWF and many other partners are working to fix this problem. And the problem is a technical problem. Technical problems can have technical solutions. The two major threats to right whales, boat strikes, which I'm not going to deal with a lot today, and gear entanglement. This is one lobster fisherman's gear, many lines. There's almost 13,000 fishermen of lobster on the east coast of Canada. Just think of what that looks like. That's a spaghetti of entanglement opportunity for those fragile whales. And that's what it looks like. That whale will not escape, that whale will die. Turns out that even if the whale does escape from an entanglement, mostly the females will not have birth. The stress is so high that they no longer become fertile. So we've been working with the science of where. Top left, we track where these whales are and where they come from by plane, by satellite. The two visuals on the left and right are aquatic metrics, and of course we have tens of thousands of Canadians and iNaturalists tracking these. That helps us map where the whales are. They're a migratory species. They go from Florida up to Canada every year. We can map where they are. We can map where entanglement happens. So we can now start to do a technical solution that says when the whale is here and they can get entangled, we're going to stop fishing happening. That helps us set a policy regime and program for closures for whales. If you close the two industries of the snow crab and the lobster, problem goes 90% away. Esri has been working with DFO, the Department of Fisheries and Oceans, for over a decade, creating these maps that help every fisherman, every policymaker, every NGO like us understand this and put it in place. That's why we have been working with Esri software, ArcGIS, to really make sure we understood how we can help. But what's the challenge in this? The challenge is that 13,000 fishermen, those 13,000 harvesters and fisher people. So we've been working also to think, what can you do to resolve this problem? And the solution is elegant but difficult: ropeless gear. Instead of having ropes, you put a trap down with a tank and a balloon. The fisher harvester clicks the button at the right time, air goes in, rises to the surface. Again, it's a geospatial challenge. You've got those 13,000 with thousands of traps. It's a complex spatial problem that we're working on. And it means looking at all the different technologies. And behavior change is complicated. It means working with fishermen themselves, working with DFO, working with the technical providers to make sure we can find a way forward that's good for the whale, good for the community. It means that we have to design smart. So every time we do an intervention in CWF, we look at how we can help other species. If you convert these technologies, not only do you protect North Atlantic right whales, you protect many other whales, as well as the species, otters, other animals. We have a team, almost 13 people, out in Halifax, every day working on this issue. And there's good news. For the first time in a long time, the report on the North Atlantic right whale showed an 8 whale increase this year. We don't know how many of those are female, but when we work together, where plus science, we can make a big difference. Going to jump from our marine landscape across to pronghorns. Not many people knew about the North Atlantic whale. How many of you know about pronghorns? I love the pronghorn. It is the second fastest species on the planet behind the cheetah. It's the fastest mammal species in North America. It migrates, like the whale, not as far. It goes from southern Alberta, or northern Alberta, and Saskatchewan. Here's its range here, all the way down into the northern US. You'll see there's a big line in the middle. That orange line is the Trans-Canada Highway. That's a really important part of the story. Because it turns out the biggest threats to pronghorns are the roads and the fences that stop their migration. They're an incredibly skittish species. That's why they're so fast, because they're afraid all the time. They're always looking around and ready to jump and leap. So when they hit a road or a fence, they freak out a little. So farmers across this landscape have been making conversions to the way they build fences. Turns out, if you eliminate the barbs and use soft, smooth wire on the bottom, raise that a little bit, you can make a transformation on the fence landscape. And many, many farmers across the prairies are doing that work. But it's not enough, because we have that problem with the roads. This is a GIS collar. When we put GIS collars on pronghorns, we can begin to understand how they move. He's moving up from the US in the warmth of the summer. Now watch what happens when this collared pronghorn hits the Trans-Canada. This is across a course of 2 or 3 weeks. It goes back and forth and gets stuck. The science of where helps us understand, where do people see? These are all data sources out there. We track where citizen science shows the pronghorn. We in Canada are the custodians, the managers of iNaturalist, a very powerful app which lets everyday Canadians track species. We use this app, also based on Esri's architecture, to drive this work. We can track with those collars and visualizations where they move. And we can sadly track where animals get hit on the Trans-Canada. We can bring those 3 data points together to look at where should we build a passageway for pronghorns. And again, when you do it for pronghorns, you do it for many species. Pronghorns are traditional animals. They always follow the same route, year after year, generation after generation. So we need to create one of these for the pronghorn. And you may look and go, that's crazy. We're not really going to build one of these, are we? How many of you have seen one of these? Oh, that's the most hands I've seen up. We build them in Canada. This is Canmore, Alberta. This is a real-life barrier recovered and lets a species cross. We want to do that with you, with Canadians, for the pronghorn. I am super happy to let you know that Alec and I and the team at CWF have been working on a new and deeper partnership, and Alec has made the lovely decision to give a $1 million in-kind contribution to CWF. We'll be It's going to give us access to that licenses and that thought leadership and access to you as a community to think what we can do next. So I'm going to quickly run through some dreams we have, because we want to dream with you, the Esri Canada family, about what we can do. So first of all, monarchs. Incredibly charismatic species. We love them. Turns out they're also endangered in Canada, endangered in the US, endangered in Mexico. They need our care. They need our attention. They migrate, like those other species, every year. Not everyone knows that they migrate in generations. It's not one generation to get from Mexico to Canada. It's actually 4 or 5 generations. So we use ArcGIS to figure out where they stop, how long they stop, when they move, when they get to the next place, so we can work with communities and activists to create a smooth migration. We work extensively on restoring rights of ways and meadows. Turns out the most effective thing you can do for a monarch and other pollinators is create a space for them to live, have children to eat. These are rights of way, these are community gardens, and we've certified over 6,000 gardens in Canada. We work with over 40 partners to change the way roads are protected on each side and right-of-ways are created in Canada. Just to give you a sense of the space, if you look at the rural roads in Canada and what we could be building in terms of healthy right-of-way, that's the size of 2 Prince Edward Islands. And it really can be small changes. When you mow, what pesticides you use or don't use, what you grow, the seed stock you use, and I'll use this as a quick moment to say, use native seeds. All of you city planners, you right-of-way people, we import seeds from the US, and we should be having a robust native seed economy here in Canada. I could talk to you about many of these partners, but I want to just touch on one special partner for us, the 407. The 407 has been working with us for the last 3 years. They've changed the way their highways are done on the side. That's great, but they didn't stop there. They work with us to support all of the different communities around the 407, city governments, conservancies, community groups, to change those. But they also worked on communication. This sign is one of my favorite signs on the planet. How many of you have seen this Welcome the Monarch sign on the 407? This is a way for everyone who drives up and down that highway to be connected to the Monarch story. I was talking to my colleague there, Christina, who's the VP of Communications, just yesterday, and she told me their communication team won a Silver Leaf Award last week. This is their second big national award they've won for communications on the Monarch. And I tell that story because it shows us that we can have conservation interventions that are good for the wildlife, good for the business, and good for what we show Canadians as a way forward. I won't announce it today, but to let you know, in the very near future, we're going to announce a much bigger partnership with the 407 to deepen this work. So any of you who use that highway or that landscape, do contact us and get involved. But I dream about a Monarch living atlas. And this is what we want to work with Esri and you. Imagine if we mapped that entire migration route on ArcGIS. Imagine if we used story maps to layer in what everyone is doing. Imagine if we used apps to activate communities. Imagine if we had a place to share and learn, get the right seeds in the right place at the right time, so we could save this incredible species. I'm going to jump now to freshwater. Turns out, if you look at Canadian freshwater species at risk, it's way worse than we thought. Over a third of the freshwater species in Canada are at risk or endangered, some critically endangered. 2/3 or 3/4 of our freshwater mussels. And how many fishermen or anglers in the crowd? Many of our recreational species are at risk. So we've been working to fix this problem. There's many threats that affect freshwater, invasive species, habitat fragmentation. We have chosen to work on the issue of barriers. It turns out that some of the most important emblematic species in Canada, the Chinook salmon here and the American eel, are also migratory. And you can imagine if a fish is swimming to the place where it gives birth and there's a blockage, that whole tract disappears. And it's a complex science. Sometimes the culverts are too big, sometimes the culverts are too small, sometimes they're in the wrong place, sometimes they're not open at the right time. It's a little bit of a Goldie Bear tricky problem we're trying to solve. That means we need to understand, again, this science of where. And we have mapped over 1,500 data points across Canada. We're excited to migrate this all onto ArcGIS with Esri Canada. That process has started because we want to move this, which is an incredibly difficult, map to work with. It's beautiful, but that's 1,500 data sources. Not many planners can work with this. So what we've done, this is the horsefly watershed in BC. We can dig deeper, and we can now have tools to help work with Indigenous communities, local NGOs, city governments, to identify the most important barriers. So we can now go from 2,500 to just 5. That's what this is, a real life story. If we eliminate these 5 barriers in horsefly, we can create 50% more space, 50% less fragmentation for the Pacific salmon. That's smart programming. That's when we bring science of where with the science of conservation. I'm going to close with a quick story on education. Last week we launched our Canadian Centre for Nature-Based Education. And we really believe that to change the way Canadians connect to nature, we have to change the education system. That means formal education, what happens in school, non-formal, what happens in our clubs and our associations, our 4-H and our Girl Guides and our Boy Scouts, and informal, what happens in all your talks at the office. We know that you can't see this as clear, 95% of teachers believe that environment is an important issue, but only 29% get outdoors for more than an hour a week with their kids. It's just not enough. So we have done a lot. We've done a lot of programming. CWF has reached 1 million+ Canadians in meaningful encounters over the last 5 years. But we know it's not enough. So last week, with Esri Canada and all of these partners, we launched the Canadian Centre for Nature-Based Education. This has now got 29 partners. It was 28 on Monday morning, but our dear colleagues from Evergreen are here. They were our 29th colleagues to join us. So if you haven't gone out to their brickworks and seen the incredible work there, Martin's right here, do visit them. But the 407 is there, Esri is there, Girl Scouts are there. If you have an education mandate, do come and join us. Today you'll meet 3 amazing grade 10 students from the David Suzuki Secondary School in Brampton. And they're going to show you the power of young minds when they meet this type of amazing software. So I'm not going to it's coming up. But I saw the story at user conference in San Diego this year of these 4 kids from Panama who mapped the Panama Canal, the lakes, their community, and I could see their efficacy, their agency, their confidence increase from use of these tools. And it made me aware we need every school to have access to these technologies. We need teachers like this good teacher here mentoring the students through these process. So we're launching with Esri Canada a education geo portal. Imagine if all of those tools that Jean Tong and that amazing education team at Esri Canada was available to every student with mentoring for teachers and support. Imagine all of the educational content that our friends and allies in the Canadian Centre was there. Imagine if we had a place to understand what's happening. So you as a parent in Saskatoon can click on an atlas and figure out, I could go there, I could go there, I could learn from them, I can share here. All of this is now feasible. We can do it. Part of that is asset mapping. We need to understand where learning happens in Canada. When we understand where learning happens, then all of us can find it. It will be transformational. We've been mapping how educational products could be, these geospatial tools could be used for kids, secondary school, high school, postgraduate, lifelong learning. This is the arc of Esri Canada materials that can go in there. These are the salary levels equated with these jobs. We can get higher salaries with better education, with better conservation, all in one package. There's a young woman in the audience called Jade. Where's Jade? Hi, Jade. I met Jade yesterday. Jade was a participant in our Canadian Conservation Corps. She spent over a year working in situ with partners, learning in a cohort. She spent 3 months with the Nature Conservancy of Canada. Then she went and got her GIS qualifications and now works in a commercial consulting firm working on GIS. We want these rooms to be full of dozens of Jades, hundreds of Jades, because that's how we're going to transform this space. I'm going to close by just underscoring that there's many things you can do in joining us. If you're a right-of-way manager, talk to us. Get the right seeds, the right management regime. If you have a potential for a barrier removal project, if you have liability sitting with a dam or a culvert and you want help in figuring out which dam and which culvert and how to effectively remove those, talk to us. Talk to your staff about these issues. Run a bio-blitz. But most important, I encourage you to take someone you love outside. Turns out, if you look at the data, the most profound way to create a culture of conservation is to go outside with those you love. Grandparents, take your grandkids out. Parents, take your kids out. Kids, take your parents out. Every year we do a love note to Canada as CWF. So we're launching this love note this year. So I offer you a small gift from CWF to you and to Canada. So please enjoy this video.
I'm trying to hold my breath. Let it stay this way. Can't let this moment end. You set off a dream in me, getting louder now. Can you hear it echoing? Take my hand. Will you share this with me? 'Cause darling, without you, all the shine of 1,000 spotlights, all the stars we steal from the night sky will never be enough, never be enough. Towers of gold still too little. These hands could hold the world, but it'll never be enough, never be enough for me. Never, 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 never for me, for me. Never enough.
Enough is enough. Join our conservation movement. Committed, connected, together unstoppable.
Hi, Alec.
Sean, fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Isn't this amazing? That video, that's the second time I've seen it. I saw it the first time in French, and it's very, very powerful message. So thank you again, Sean. And the Center for Nature-Based Education is, I think, a mission for all of us. We had our staff addressed this summer by Dr. Melissa Lem, who is a medical doctor in Vancouver, who has created an organization with BC Parks called Parks, P-A-R-X, and they prescribe time in nature for people that have mental illness. And it's just, you can see just the videos and looking at your slides at how much it makes you relax when you see it. So you've been here for 2 days, and you've seen a lot. What has anything changed your approach, having been here with this team, this crowd of people?
Yeah. So first of all, Alec, a huge thank you, and a thank you to Esri Canada for letting us be here. We believe that there's so many things we could do. We thought we were doing a good job. But when I see what all of you are doing, I see so much extra applications we can bring to bear. Maybe I'll give 3 examples. I look at what you're doing with LiDAR, and it makes me think if we were to bring that at scale to conservation in Canada, we could understand habitats better, we could understand species better, we could understand migration better. It could be transformative in this space, and I don't believe anyone's doing it at scale. Number 2, I loved the beluga whale story yesterday, and I'm wondering, how do we take that geo-AI thinking and apply it to the North Atlantic right whale, to so many of our species? The potential of geo-AI, incredible. When we saw those 2,500 barriers up in Horsefly, could we use satellites to use geo-AI? Could we use drones to take those potential barriers, those potential 2,500, quicker down to a number we can manage? The last one is maybe the visualization capacity. As I look at the way so many of you are telling your stories, the details, the dashboards, as a group that does policy and advocacy and communicates with the public, if we get better as conservation communicators at using these tools, I think it can transform the way we connect. So for me, thank you. I've learned so much from you.
So this the group of people here are a small portion of the hundreds of thousands of GIS users across Canada, the tens of thousands of GIS professionals. So it can be a force multiplier for you. What can they do to help you?
Well, how many of you work in local government, municipal government? Turns out, well, a huge number. Half of the great conservation in the world, half of the great climate work happens at the local government level. You have so much power in the way you plan and the way you manage. If you plan and manage with conservation inside, with pollinator gardens, with native seeds, it's a force that could not be reckoned with, Alec. It's transformational. So we believe you local government practitioners are frontline of this work. Number 2 is the right-of-way holders, people who work with highways, roads, hydro, railroad. These are huge bodies of lands that we could be converting to conservation, and almost all of you use ArcGIS, Esri Canada, as your backbone. We want to work with you to convert these spaces because they can be good for economies, good for wildlife, and frankly, a good news story for Canada. Those of you that have technical expertise, those drones, those LiDAR, come talk to us. We have a booth out there. We have a team of 6, 7 people here. We know we don't know the answers, and you can give us, you can tell us what we should be doing better than we can ask you what we need.
So Sean, you have a team of 120 people. How many of those are GIS people today?
There's about 18 or 20 GIS people. We have GIS people in all of our different portfolios. We have a big team on the North Atlantic right whales. We have a big team in our Monarchs right of ways, the pronghorn team. I think I may be underestimating, Alec, it may be over 20. We have a really big, robust 7-8 person team on the Canadian Aquatic Database project. Again, we want to do more. None of our teams really worked together before. So if we create a common GIS platform, we can have these different groups additive in creating a more comprehensive face for Canada. That's why we brought so many people here.
So nature-based education, to me, is just so fundamental. We look at our cities and they're concrete jungles in some ways, and there isn't enough way to get to nature. But we can fix that in some ways with community gardens, and you think of Toronto being crisscrossed with transmission lines and ravines, and there's lots of opportunity in this. But it does need to be mapped, and there's no question that we want to help you, what we can do in Esri Canada, but the biggest force out there that can help is our user community of everybody. So I encourage all of you to just join forces with the Canadian Wildlife Federation. But tell me a little bit about the CWF. You're not just CWF, a national organization. There's others that are out there too that are part of your federation.
We are a Canadian federation, so we're a federation. We also have 13 affiliates in every province and territory. Those affiliates have hundreds of thousands of stakeholders involved in conservation, in projects. They do fire suppression work that needs mapping. They protect lands, all on, we have our colleagues in Saskatchewan own and manage close to 300,000 hectares. All of that's mapped in ArcGIS. But again, the visualization we could bring to it, the upgrade. So we have a family that does conservation together, and the family is growing. We want new partners. As the Canadian Wildlife Federation, we take this word Canadian very seriously, and that doesn't mean you work alone. It means you work in a pack.
So I think with Sean, we have a chance here to lead the world in this. And Sean has just come off how many years with IUCN?
9 years in an international organization working on these communication issues and educations globally, and Canada's a beautiful, special place.
So the IUCN is the International Union for the Conservation of Nature. And Sean was key in that education committee and wants to transfer, he's still part of that organization too, and wants to bring that expertise that he's seen, knowledge he's seen around the world, and really focus it here in Canada. Yeah. And we're just thrilled to be part of this and helping you, so.
It is an honor, Alec, to work with you, to work with all of you. I would be remiss if I didn't do one more thing though before we leave the stage. Those incredible photos you saw, those photos are from everyday Canadian photographers. We get tens of thousands of people send us their pictures. That's what Canada looks like through the eyes of Canadians. So I just want to take a second to honor all of those photo people. And to say, we have an incredible team, and there's 6 or 7 of our most passionate here. Please come across to the booth, talk to us, tell us what you can do with us and what we can do with you.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sean. Great job. So was that as inspiring as I suggested it might be? Incredible, incredible work. Sean and team, thank you. Sean's humble and a little more soft-spoken than I am, so I'll say it a little bit more directly. If you haven't gone, go to the Canadian Wildlife Federation booth in the exhibit hall area. If you think your organization can help, speak to someone. We're at events like this to connect and communicate with one another. If you think yourself as an individual or your organization can contribute to this incredible cause, this is the opportunity to start creating those connections. So thank you, Sean. Incredible, incredible talk to get us started. So now it's my pleasure to kick off a long-standing component of our plenary sessions that always proves to be memorable, or at least to myself, our student presentations. To lead us through this and help us learn a little bit about the incredible future we have coming in our industry and in our country, I'm happy to introduce Jean Tong, our Director of Education and Research.
Great, thank you, Brian. Esri Canada's Education and Research Group has been dedicated to advancing geographic thinking and spatial literacy across Canada. We empower students and teachers with the tools and knowledge to understand data, to explore the past, analyze the present, and plan for the future. In 3,500 schools across the country, we help students and teachers in using the tool in subjects from geography, history, science, arts, you name it, it's everywhere. Through our K-12 program, we offer free software, resources, and support, so students can use the tool to explore their local community issues and also global, and then act on those. We also collaborate with incredible partners like the Canadian Wildlife Federation, where we'll be supporting them in youth engagement and conservation through spatial storytelling and citizen science. These partnerships are so important. They empower students to become change makers. When you bring data and connect it with place and purpose, they don't just learn, they lead. We're grateful to be part of a movement that's helping to nurture this next generation of thought leaders. Today, we're excited to welcome Badra, Mansuret, and Michelle, grade 10 students from David Suzuki Secondary School in Brampton, Ontario. They're here to share how they've been using GIS in their own learning to bring data to life and make decisions from a youth perspective. We're so excited to hear your story. Welcome and thank you for being here.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I have a question for you today. Think back to when you were our age. Where did you dream of living? Somewhere with perfect weather, beautiful scenery. Maybe you imagined a place with no freezing storms, or no days where you couldn't go outside and enjoy your time due to the heat. Didn't you dream of living in a place that reached all of your expectations? It's definitely a thought we've all had at least once. But instead of just having a thought, we actually had the chance to find this perfect location. A place that reached all of the living expectations we set for ourselves. And this place was found by using ArcGIS Online.
With ArcGIS Online, we got the chance to consider what really matters to us when designing our lifestyle. When we were asked the question where we wanted to live without our parents making that decision for us, we considered what makes a place ideal. This includes the weather we enjoy, the landforms we would love to see, and all the natural disasters we want to avoid. Designing our own lifestyle and seeing it come to life visually was much more appealing rather than just choosing a location merely because we've heard of it.
We started by listing outdoor activities we enjoy since they'd affect where we'd want to live. Then we made a chart with desired conditions, including things like climate, landform features, and natural disasters we'd want to avoid. When we finished both charts, we used ArcGIS with its different tools and filters to narrow down our location. This helped us find our top location and an alternative. Finally, we organized our findings using ArcGIS Story Map to present our choices and reasoning behind them.
For example, this is how I analyzed my climate. Firstly, I selected annual mean temperature layer to give myself some few options on the right. I selected filter and clicked on add new, which gave me 3 new options. I changed all the options within them. In the first box, I changed it to annual mean temperature as the condition to filter for. In the second box, I changed is at least to is between to give myself 2 different temperature ranges. In the first box for temperature ranges, I selected 2.5 degrees. In the second box, I selected 9 Celsius degrees. That's how I found the climate that I wanted for my annual mean temperature.
To find the best place to live, I used a map with layers that showed my ideal climate and landform features. I compared them by turning each layer on and off, which helped me visually see where my conditions overlapped. After this, I turned on the natural disaster filter to see what areas I would want to avoid. When it fit my criteria, that's how I found my top location. I also chose an alternative place that required a few compromises. This process helped me make a decision based on actual data instead of just guessing a place that I thought met all my conditions.
In the beginning, we already had an idea of the desired conditions we wanted based off an assignment we did, which was what activities we enjoyed doing outside. Canada is a beautiful country made up of incredible landscapes and places, so we thought carefully about the environment that would match our preferences.
For my conditions, I wanted warmer climates, flat landform features, and no big storms. These conditions were easy to come to as I thought of what I enjoyed doing outside overall. In the end, the location that I selected that best suited all of these conditions was Cambridge, Ontario. Cambridge consists of warmer climates and flatter landform features where I can do activities I enjoy, like walking around in beautiful park areas. There is also no big storms in Cambridge that may not want me to live there for. So this is how I selected my perfect location.
My idea of what I wanted was a balance between both warm and cold climates, a more mountainous area with rivers and lakes, and to avoid hurricanes. With this criteria, my final location was Victoria, British Columbia. With its lakes and nature trails, I'd be able to enjoy activities like hiking and canoeing, making it my perfect place to live.
And I wanted a place that mainly focused on the idea of low risks of natural disasters, warm, mild summers, and relatively warm winters. With my preferences, I chose Vancouver. I've always enjoyed spending my time under the warm weather, and Vancouver's beaches makes it the perfect spot for that. Starting with the conditions we know we wanted helped us narrow down our search to find our perfect location.
After the process we went through to find this perfect location of ours, we realized how much easier all of this was with the help of ArcGIS. We learned about the interesting and new ways to use ArcGIS to help us find these locations. Clearly, ArcGIS was a great help in finding our future location. Now, thinking back to your days in school, wouldn't ArcGIS be so much easier in finding your perfect place?
For us, it was really enjoyable to see our ideas of our perfect place come to life visually through ArcGIS, rather than bullet noting all of our desired conditions and researching them all. Additionally, being able to explore locations on a map helped us understand how features of natural disasters, climate, and landforms can affect the type of lifestyle we would want.
Other than school projects, we learned that ArcGIS Online can be used in many other ways. For example, it can help with urban planning and city development, such as designing livable and sustainable communities. It's also used across different industries in Canada, like managing natural resources to see where they're most available. Finally, GIS can help study immigration patterns and show where different minority groups live across the country. This shows that ArcGIS is not only a helpful tool for school projects, but also for real-life planning.
Thank you so much for your time and listening to our presentation. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job. Great, really, really terrific job. So now we've come to a special part of our user conference. This is the part where I'm pleased to have the honor of introducing this year's Special Achievement award recipients. We'll start with the Canadian recipients of the Esri Special Achievement in GIS Award. This award, given by Esri, celebrates organizations worldwide that are setting new standards in the use of GIS to improve our world. Normally, this award is limited to one recipient per country per year. But this year, we're proud that Esri decided to recognize not one, but two outstanding Canadian organizations whose innovative use of GIS has delivered remarkable results in their respective fields. Our first Special Achievement Award goes to Pomerleau, one of Canada's largest construction companies based in Montreal. Pomerleau was selected from thousands of Esri customers worldwide for their groundbreaking integration of GIS, building information management, or building information modeling, and Internet of Things technologies on the Cement Quebec project. By harmonizing these advanced technologies, they've accelerated construction timelines by an impressive 33%. And have set a new benchmark for the construction industry in Canada. Anthony Le Guin will be accepting this award on Pomerleau's behalf, but first, let's take a moment and watch this brief video about their GIS success.
7 concrete silos, 45 meters high, were built by pouring concrete non-stop for 9 days straight. A crew of 120 workers worked 12-hour shifts around the clock. Just 2 days before construction, the client made an urgent last-minute request. They wanted real-time sensor monitoring, and the team had only 48 hours to figure it out. This is the story of how Pomerleau turned an impossible deadline into a Canadian first. Traditional construction uses paper plans and spreadsheets, but with concrete pouring non-stop, there was no time to flip through binders or update Excel sheets. Pomerleau's innovation team had one shot to prove that sensors, 3D models, and GIS could work together under extreme pressure. In just 48 hours, the team did something that had never been done in Canada. They attached sensors to the concrete forms that sent data every minute: position, height, and temperature. This information was connected to their 3D building models and GIS systems. Suddenly, everyone could see the construction happening in real time, not just on site, but from the office, even from their phones. Every hour, the system automatically generated reports showing which steel plates needed to be placed in the next 3 meters. Construction crews loved it so much that they called these reports the Bible. It told them exactly what was coming next, preventing costly mistakes before they happened. Project managers could check safety, quality, and progress from a single screen. Instead of running around the site collecting information, they could focus on making better decisions. The technology didn't replace expertise. It made experts even better. Silo number 2 was scheduled for 8 days of construction. They finished it in 5. The entire project was completed 33% faster than planned. What began as a last-minute scramble became a landmark achievement. Pomerleau had just revolutionized how construction could be done. Here's the beautiful irony. To build 7 concrete silos, Pomerleau first had to break down the information silos between their teams. They proved that when you combine human expertise with smart technology, you don't just build faster, you build better. The Cement Quebec project sent a message to the entire construction industry. The future isn't coming, it's here. One digital twin at a time.
So joining me here today is Anthony Le Guin, the GIS manager for more than just a GIS manager. You do more than that, but to present you, it gives me a great deal of pleasure to present you with this award, the SAG Award for the revolutionizing the way concrete is managed in Canada. And it just amazed me when I heard this thing unfolding for over the number of years, using velocity in real time to keep track of what's going on, using all kinds of, bringing BIM in. So Anthony, what is the impact of this award on Pomerleau as a company and you as well?
Thank you, Alex. So it's a great honor for Pomerleau. Let me tell you a quick story. Like 5 years ago, I was surveyor in Nunavut in the mining industry, and I didn't know nothing regarding GIS, Esri, ArcGIS, BIM. So, like I was just collecting data on site, seeing it in civil 3D with a black background, with no map, no context. So I would love to learn GIS at school like the student. So yes, it's a great honor. And when I joined Pomerleau, GIS was, like 5 years ago, GIS was only a research axis. So but I understand directly, like, okay, it could be useful in construction. So I push for that. And we try to deliver connected data and connected site to improve construction. So, yeah.
So, yeah, Pomerleau is not just in Quebec, are you?
No, we are across Canada, and we have 200 active sites, and we are a little bit in USA with our renewable energy.
So this means an expansion for GIS across your whole organization and the concrete industry across Canada then?
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, well, félicitations.
Merci, Alex.
Okay.
Thank you.
Congratulations once again, Pomerleau, on an incredible, incredible initiative. And thank you, Anthony, for your leadership there. So, as I mentioned, we're lucky this year. We have 2 award winners. So it's my pleasure to now announce that our second Esri Special Achievement in GIS Award goes to the largest municipality in Atlantic Canada, the Halifax Regional Municipality. HRM's strategic use of location intelligence over the past 35 years has transformed processes and improved governance across their entire organization, delivering better outcomes for their community as a whole. It's no surprise that they have actually ranked first in the Geospatial Maturity Index report, which is a result of a survey of 96 leading public sector organizations across all of North America. Receiving this award is Paul Schaffelberg, the Director of Data Analytics and Visualization for Halifax Regional Municipality, and his team. But as they come up here, let's first get a glimpse of HRM's comprehensive use of GIS.
The Halifax Regional Municipality is in a unique position in that we have both a dense urban core and a very broad rural community. So while we have land to expand into, there isn't necessarily always the required infrastructure to bring services outwards and sprawl into those lands.
500,000 people today, planning for 1 million by 2050. But Halifax can't just sprawl. Every system has to work everywhere. In 2016, Paul Schaffelberg had a problem.
While we were knocking it out of the park, delivering traditional GIS services, we were really limited to what the business units were requesting of us. But our team could solve so many more business problems than people realized. They thought of us as the maps team. The change came when we stopped having conversations about GIS and mapping, and really started having conversations around business outcomes and challenges and the things that were really keeping them up at night. Things were going well. We'd integrated road closures into fire dispatch, we were tracking response times, but field mobility wasn't fully deployed. Then in May 2023, the wildfire hit, the ultimate test. I was mowing my lawn and I had my headphones in connected to my phone and it started to ring. And knowing what was happening, I didn't even need to look and to see who it was. Of course, it was our Director of Emergency Management. They needed somebody there. And even though it was a Sunday evening, within an hour, we had staff at the EOC. I was familiar with the Esri disaster relief program, but I didn't have time to process what we could ask Esri. But it didn't matter because they called me. And immediately they were like, let's just activate. We'll take care of the paperwork. You just keep doing what you need to do. All through that week, their team became our team. It was absolutely incredible the support we got.
The Upper Tantallon wildfire hit the rural outskirts, the hardest place to deploy technology. If it worked here, it would work anywhere.
Your home is such a personal thing. So to not know what's happening to it is pretty much one of the most stressful things you can imagine. What we wanted to do was figure out how do we get that information to people as quickly as possible so that they can begin the recovery process. Within 24 hours, we had tablets in firefighters' hands taking geotagged photos of every property in the fire zone. The lesson that we learned was, wait a minute, we don't have to overcomplicate this stuff. That wildfire gave us confidence to move fast. Now we create field apps in days, tracking invasive bugs in hemlock trees, mapping dark areas that need street lighting. If it worked in a crisis, it can work everywhere. Personally, I know that I have the best GIS team in the world, so when I see things from our senior leaders that are demonstrating that they get it, that feels really good. That means I've done my job. The most important thing is get out and talk to your business users. Challenge yourself not to use the words GIS or Esri. You can't wait for them to come to you. You have to go to them. Not with all of the answers, but with a willingness to listen and a really great imagination.
Well, it's my great pleasure to welcome Paul Schaffelberg and his team to the stage to receive this award. Right. And they were unable to attend the conference in San Diego this year to receive this in person, so this is the first time they're actually seeing this award. I've spent a lot of time in Halifax over the years. I've known Paul for, 25 years. Yep. We've been working together. And it's quite remarkable how that maturity of an organization reflects itself in the accomplishment you do. So, Paul, congratulations very much on the receipt of this award, and you brought your team. Can you introduce your team to us?
Absolutely, thank you, Alex. So this is a portion of our team. We have Jill Landry, Alex Gallagher, Tristan Marvin, and Justin Chang. We were happy to be able to bring them here this year, and the rest of the gang is home, hopefully, to watch this, so yeah.
Well, that's terrific. So this award is because of not just the maturity of GIS, but a number of other things you've done. So maybe just indulge me for a moment. In 1989 is when Halifax actually acquired ArcInfo, all caps. Yeah. And I was down there for quite a bit of time working on the original planning of it, and that team led by initially Jim Gannon has resulted in this incredible award today, but also in your incredible team. And we were talking backstage about some of the work that they're doing with the Climate Change Hub, and we knew about this. It's a climate change hub that they're building. They're using the advanced hub. And but tell me a little bit about how it comes about and how it gets supported.
Absolutely. So the Halifax climate action program was it's certainly one of the most ambitious climate action programs in the country, if not in North America. But one of the challenges, of course, they were having, they had a lot of the vision. The vision was there. But what we recognized was, they needed to start telling that story. We were taking a portion of people's property taxes, and we were putting, taxpayer money into it. How do we tell that story? And of course, so from us, and of course, the team wanting to be, a part of this, part of this journey, we recognize what does GIS, telling data-driven storytelling is what has been the power of GIS from the very beginning. And so we thought, what better way to tell that story? And I guess the other aspect of the Halifax program is it's not a municipal program. It's not, obviously we're a big part of it, but it involves all levels of government. It involves private sector, public sector, community organizations, nonprofits. So in storytelling, you know, we can't, like we would normally do in municipal, say, well, it's our story, our communications, our systems will control sort of how that engagement happens. We need all of our partners. It's important, critical for them to tell part of the story. And so how do we do that? And that's when we came across the Premium Hub to say, not only is this as good at bringing our authoritative data into the story, but we can, you know, in a managed, in an organized fashion, bring our extended partners and external to the actual physical municipality into that storytelling exercise, and it's been revolutionary. We launched on the 14th of October, so we're very excited. It was a tremendous amount of work for the team because, again, it wasn't about deploying the technology. You know, that's, you know, a team would argue maybe it wasn't as easy as we thought, but it's certainly the easy part of it. But it was really that engagement, that collaboration, and really making sure that people understood what it is we were doing today, and then what is that vision, and how do we then grow from it? Because really, what we've launched today is just the tip of the iceberg, and we're really excited about where we can take it.
Well, the Premium Hub, of course, is exactly what you just said, allows you to bring these communities together. How many of you, it's only been out a month, how many have you got so far signed up?
I'm not sure in terms of users. I mean, we have several dozen partners, and they're all represented on the Hub today. Yeah, we're excited. We're doing, event scheduling and things like that, but eventually we want to get more and more. We're eventually going to grow into sort of interactive, users signing up, again, in a controlled fashion, because again, we can't afford to just open the doors wide open and let anybody in. So we're trying to, from a responsible technology perspective as well, to do that. But yeah, so the nice thing about it is that we have such a great partnership with our environment climate change team that they really trusted us, and that's really a testament to the team and the relationship that we've built with them. Is, of course, they were exposed to all kinds of options to start this journey. Lots of organizations were eager to sort of be a part of this, and we really said, hey, we already have this relationship. We obviously understand the data better than anybody, and that's really at the core of this. And we have this, this tremendous opportunity, this tremendous power with our ArcGIS ecosystem that, maybe if we work together as partners, and it really was a partnership with the business. It wasn't, we weren't, sort of telling them what to do. They weren't telling us what to do. We really sort of had a give and take throughout that. So.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations.
All right. Thank you, Alex.
Congratulations for the award.
Yes, congratulations, Paul and team. I've personally been lucky enough to be involved in some of the work that Halifax has done over the years. It's been a while since I've been able to be involved hands on keyboards, but I've seen much of it lately, and the Halifax Hub is just incredible. So really incredible job. And I'd like to really thank both Halifax Regional Municipality and Pomerleau for representing Canada so well and for being recognized with their Esri Special Achievement in GIS Award. So congratulations to both of you. Now, I've been lucky enough over the years to have been involved and had oversight to a number of different truly enterprise scale implementations of GIS with some of the largest organizations in Canada. And I've found that over that time, the organizations that really excel achieve excellence in 3 areas, and that's the implementation of processes, the deployment of leading technology, and the development and support for their people. And that brings us to a new award that ALEC decided to create this year, a new Esri Canada award called the GIS Professional of the Year Award. And it's my pleasure to present this award this award is going to recognize a GIS professional who has demonstrated excellence developing geospatial applications or programs and advocating for GIS solutions both in their organization but also while fostering community engagement to elevate the GIS profession as a whole. This year's recipient is none other than Mitchell Eastley, a GIS developer and technician from the city of Steinbach, Manitoba. Mitchell is a one-person GIS team who has developed several transformative applications for the city. He's an active contributor to the broader GIS community in multiple ways and serves on the Community Map of Canada Advisory Council, promoting authoritative data and collaborative mapping, which has helped build a detailed, ready-to-use web-based map of Canada and improve data quality across jurisdictions. Mitchell also volunteers to judge GIS app challenges across the country, and in all of the free time that I'm sure that he has, he mentors emerging GIS professionals as well. Many have come forward to attest to the impact of Mitchell's work. We spoke to a few of them, and this video gives us a brief highlight of some of what they've said.
Mitchell pretty much had an opportunity to define the position and grow it to what it's become today.
I'm essentially a team of one supporting corporate services, engineering, building inspection and planning, waterworks, public works, parks and rec, and solid waste. You are being pulled in multiple directions and creating maps and applications for staff to use in their day-to-day tasks.
For him to be a department of one, and my understanding is when he started out, there really wasn't much of a system to begin with. And to come work here without any direct mentorship, just kind of blazing a path on his own and then establishing a system that we have today. I don't think a lot of people would be able to pull that off.
Mitchell is definitely driven in the field that he's chosen. The word that comes to mind is tenacity. But you have to be driven and committed to getting that work done because it's an enormous volume.
When I was a student at the University of Lethbridge, I went to student orientation, and the president of the university at the time, he spoke to all the students and he said, if there is some advice that I could give to all of you in this room, take the time. So what I always say to people is take the time to explain things clearly. Take the time to plan properly. Sometimes it's better not to rush, that you're going to get better buy-in and better results. And it's not something that's just a work mentality, but it's also how you live your life. Growing up on a farm, when a neighbor needs your help, you help them out. And I see the same thing in my coworkers in the same way, that they also depend on me to build maps and apps. And they need the reliable system to do their jobs, and that's how I help them.
I never sense any apprehension from him when we come to him with a task. I think he does honestly like to help people and does like to do things that will make their job easier. I think it's a point of pride for him, and it shows.
One satisfaction I get is when the manager of Waterworks thanks me for everything I do for their department, and that with everything going on, our GIS system is the least of their concerns, that it's always available when they need it.
We trust that the data is correct and available and ready for us to use, and it proves that the technology is something that is of great value to the community.
He's at the head of his field. Other municipalities that are reaching out and saying, hey, I heard about this project that Mitch did, and they want to meet with him and pick his brain a little bit. And that tells me that he's an innovator, and to get that kind of attention tells me he is making an impact in his industry.
Not only is it gratifying to see the evolution of the system, but it's equally, if not more gratifying, to see the evolution of Mitchell as a person in his career and his capabilities. I think the city is certainly appreciative and better for it.
Mitchell, congratulations, and it's my pleasure to present you with this inaugural GIS Professional of the Year Award.
Thank you very much.
Well, you're a worthy recipient of it. We reviewed an awful lot of applications and nominations for this, and I think all of us in this room know what it's like to build a GIS. It's a lot of hard work, and In larger organizations, we have help. And, but it's hard to imagine what it's like to be the only one, the only GIS professional in an organization. So what does this mean to you as an individual first?
Well, I was taken aback when I was nominated for this award and that I would be receiving it. And even like when I arrived in Steinbach in December of 2007, like the system that they had, like I was like, oh my God, what am I about to get myself into? And so I started looking at stuff, and like as I said, it wasn't much of a system, but I had to start training up users and all that, and just how it's evolved. Like we talked backstage, like we came from an Autodesk shop originally. We came to Esri via the Ames to ArcGIS migration. So I've essentially had to build like 3 systems since my arrival. So, but I always get gratification, like as I said in the video, like when you have staff come to you and say, you know, thanks for everything you do, that really means a lot to me.
Well, I really like the idea that you told me backstage is that you just have to engage people. Because it sounds to me, and from what I've seen, that you empower people to use it in ways that go beyond.
And I can point to a good example with our waterworks department. We deployed a hydrant inspection solution, and as soon as they saw that, they started to ask, well, could we do it for water main valves? I said yes, so rolled out something for them, and then they come back to me earlier this year, can we do something for catch basins and curb inlets? So I was busy working with them this past fall trying to get that all set up and configured and all that. So.
You said that earlier to me that Steinbach has grown a huge amount since you arrived. What
like
tell us a little bit about
the population's essentially doubled. Like we're right now, like the census was at 17,806 in 2021. Our internal estimates right now, we're at 20,117, and just with the building growth, like we're almost adding 300 units a year just in the last 2 years. Like we're probably going to be in the 20,500 to 20,600 range when they do the census next year. And of course that gives us added growth. Like our waterworks manager, the one thing that he's having to worry about is they need to expand wastewater capacity, and that's going to probably be the largest infrastructure project the city has ever seen. Like we just built a new event center, which cost $74.5 million. Now we had grant funding from the from federal and provincial government. We also had private funding, and even before that, we had a new water treatment plant built in 2018, 2019. That at the time was the largest. So, like infrastructure costs are going up and all that. So,
well, we heard your advice in the video to other GIS professionals, but especially those in small organizations. But what would be, if you had to sum up advice to them in a few words? I love what you talked about, take time to plan, think about it. But
it's interesting that the president of the University of Lethbridge at the time, I don't know if people remember, Dr. Bill Cade. He was actually originally from Texas, and he spoke with a Texas accent, and he came actually from the background of insects. And it just, when he spoke, he's like, take the time. And I always say, you know, if you take the time to do stuff right, you can get gratification for everything you do.
Well, congratulations again.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, as we approach the close here, I'd like to, first of all, thank Sean Southey from the Canadian Wildlife Federation for joining us this morning to share his incredible, inspirational message. I think you really got us started on the right foot here. I would also like to congratulate Pomerleau, Halifax, and Mitchell. They are all tremendous examples of the excellent GIS work coming out of Canada. So I do now have one last thing left to do before releasing you all to lunch, and then on to enjoy an afternoon of sessions, the exhibit hall, and the rest of the event. And that is to let you know that we will be hosting another National User Conference next year in 2026 at this same venue on October 21st and 22nd. Thank you. I personally look forward to welcoming all of you back to another tremendously successful event next year. So thank you all for joining us. Enjoy your lunch and enjoy the rest of the conference.